Hey everyone, so I'm here with another video. Today I thought I would share something that I saw from someone's post on Instagram. I don't quite remember how the post went, but I do know how I started to reflect and think about my own challenges. And so basically the post goes something like this. So basically this is someone who I've been following for years, but they're kind of like their own creator in a way. They like to, dance and do different things, and, collab with different people and things like that. So their post went something like, they felt like they were giving a lot, as far as, trying to meet up with people for collaborations. They felt like the friends that they met, that a lot of them, majority of them, they were just using this person. They didn't feel like, the people around him was genuine. And it just seemed like there was a lot on, this person's end that they were just blaming other people for, and not really internalizing and seeing what was going on. And so when I looked into that, I was curious, because I also had a similar take way before I started my journey. I would blame a lot of people for mistreating me. I would blame a lot of people for not caring about me in ways that I cared about them, so on and so forth. And so I really had to just think, not everybody is going to be as aware or self-aware or know how to deal with different things as far as people and relationships and neglect and things like that. And so, that's what this video is basically about. And it's basically about, being able to internalize how we're treated and, kind of set a standard or boundary, or just create awareness, within ourselves about things that we just won't, tolerate, or things that we won't allow other people to do. And it feels like a lot of the time we look for people who are not necessarily just we look for a lot of friends. We're when we grow up, we're told, make lots of friends, make friends and things like that. And, making a lot of friends is cool and it's good. But the thing that you have to remember is not all the friends, not all the relationships that you have, and not all the people that's in your life will have your best interests. They won't have the same values you have. They won't have the same drive you have. And, a lot of the times, what happens is, when we think that we have people in our corner, oftentimes they aren't really in our corner, and they kind of show us a different side. So, I think the most important thing is, when you are making friends, when you're making relationships in general and things like that, it's very important that you kind of look to see what people are doing, how they're moving, how they're acting. Words are nice, words are great, but words oftentimes are just words. More often than not, they're just words, and actions are what we need to look for, because they do tell us, who these people actually are, what they're actually, capable of doing, and things like that. So the truth of the matter is, you can't control how people show up for you. You can't control what their actions are, what people can give you and things like that, as far as like emotional support, you know, but you can control what you accept. You can decide, you know, hey, these are my boundaries. You know, this is what I'm going to allow. This is what I'm not going to allow. I have standards. I hold myself to this regard. You know, you can let people know that, you know, hey, I have self-respect. I decided that in this relationship, it's not healthy for me to choose other people over myself. And you can just stick with that and, you know, continue to learn how to just respect yourself. Because in respecting yourself, once you start learning how to respect yourself, it'll get easier and easier, and people will know, you know, hey, that person is who they are. You know, I'm not going to cross that boundary, because that's not who they are. That's the boundary that they decided they wanted to go and set. And so we're not going to cross it. And as you start doing that, you'll start to build relationships with people who are valuable. Not necessarily with a lot of people, because the fact of the matter is, in life, you only have but a handful of people, you know, who actually truly like value you for you, who actually want to see you succeed, want to see you do good things, who will call you out when, you know, there's BS. You know, a lot of the times we make all these friends and things like that, and they're not doing anything for our lives. They're piggybacking, they're, you know, trauma dumping, and, you know, nothing gets better. But then you have those few that are willing to be like, you know what, hey, you really messed up. Like, I love you and everything, but you messed up. And those are the types of people that you should want to attract, you want to build and grow in life with, because those are the people that will always keep you on that path. If you let those people know that, you know, I want to do this, those people are going to hold you accountable. They're going to tell you, you know what, hey, you said that you were going to start doing this, let's go. You know, so that's basically how I interpreted it. It's very weird, because as soon as I read the post, I was like going off with all kinds of things, and it's just like, as soon as I get behind camera, I'll lose it. But it's fine, because that is the main point that I, you know, wanted to get across. You know, respect yourself. You know, don't overextend yourself for people who aren't willing to do the same for you. And you'll know if people aren't willing to do the same for you, because there'll be the same people that say, oh yeah, you know, I'll show up for this, or I'll show up for this, or, you know, you had my back in this, but then they don't show up. They don't have your back. They're nowhere to be found when, you know, stuff hits the fan. But, you know, just know yourself. Create relationships based on value, you know, based on, you know, quality and not quantity, not shallowness, you know, not, you know, relationships without boundaries or standards and things like that. We don't want those things. We want healthy relationships. And healthy relationships, they have boundaries, they have self-respect, and they have self-awareness. And so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today, guys. But as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay beautiful, stay you.